Hi, I'm JasonTibbs, and this is my Artist Manager profile. I have chosen Peter Grant, Artist Manager of the great rock and roll band Led Zeppelin. He was born illegitimate in Battersea, London, where he grew up in poverty and was raised by his mother. He never did well in school. In fact, in one school report it said, "This boy will never make anything out of his life." At the early age of 13, he started working as a stagehand at Croydon Empire and went on to work in a sheet metal factory, as a waiter, and eventually a bit actor when he was asked to play a double for Robert Morley. He then used his enormous size to become a wrestler known as Count Bruno Alessio of Milan. While Grant worked at Two Eyes Coffee Bar in London, he found his first interest in the record business. He soon became a tour manager for some of America's acts, like Vincent, Gene, Little Richard, and the Everly Brothers. He is also known for giving Chuck Berry his first England gig, and was responsible for getting the Rolling Stones on the BBC's Saturday night program. In the 1960s, Grant managed a band called the Animals, and later a band called the Yardbirds. While managing the Yardbirds, Grant met guitarist Jimmy Page. And in 1968, a couple years after Jimmy Page had joined the Yardbirds split. Page asked Grant to be the manager of the new Yardbirds that would soon become the legendary Led Zeppelin. Under Grant, Zeppelin soared to the top of the rock and roll industry, becoming the largest rock and roll band, selling large amounts of albums and selling out venues all over the world. Grant turned Led Zeppelin into a huge success, making them billions of dollars. He was like a father figure to them. He once said, "I won't stand for people taking advantage of the group." He was once arrested after 70,000 pounds was stolen from the band. He was imprisoned for allegedly assaulting a photographer. Grant was known as a hands-on manager, touring with the band, always making sure the costs were kept low and the promoters paid up. His behind-the-scene dealings soon became legendary. Anyone who got in his way may receive a nasty phone call or a visit at your office, sometimes even physical abuse. Grant was famous for his American touring. He is responsible for turning the touring rock and roll scene into what it is today: loud, smoke-filled venues pumping amplified music into the listener's ears. With his harsh attitude, he negotiated with concert promoters until he got 90% of the ticket sales, which had only been a 50% payout until Grant. He was one of the fiercest and most feared entrepreneurs in the rock business, and reputation that often worked to Led Zeppelin's advantage, like getting Atlantic Records to sign Zeppelin to a healthy 5-year contract without even hearing them play. In the 1970s, he co-managed a couple of bands like Maggie Bell and Bad Company. They both appeared on Zeppelin's label Swan Song, but the label did not identify with these bands. Some good decisions Grant made for Led Zeppelin are his decision to not sell singles and only sell albums. The band profited large amounts of money by this decision. Another great decision Grant made was to not take less than 90% of the ticket sales. A bad decision Grant made was he put Zeppelin above everything, even his own family, which led to a divorce that began a process of depression. Then, after John Bonham's death in 1980, Grant made his worst decision yet, to turn to alcohol and cocaine. It cost him a lot in his life and his health. Grant died of a heart attack in 1995. Some things I learned in my research on Peter Grant is his loyalty to the band. In furthering the career of my artist this month, I will work on building the trust and loyalty towards the band that Peter Grant did with Led Zeppelin. Another thing I learned and will use with my artist this month is not to release singles. Have our listeners buy our albums. It generates more money, and it also introduces fans to all of our music, not just the mainstream hits. The biggest thing I learned during this research is the importance to take care of your personal life, as well as your band's. It's not worth putting anything between you and your personal life. If your personal life falls apart, you are no good to who you are managing. I hope you enjoyed my manager profile on Peter Grant, the most feared yet respected manager in the rock and roll industry at the time. Thank you for your time.